Ahoy there, Skyward Shield. Welcome to week 5 of Football Talks. This is probably going to be the most negative out of all the ones we've had so far. I'm joined by Bill. Say hello, Bill.
Hello, oh my god.
Bill, if you don't know what happened yesterday on Monday Night Football, Bill's pissed off. I'm shocked. If I had to describe how I felt after that, I'm kind of glad I didn't go to my mom's house to go watch the game. Instead, I just streamed it. If I went over there to watch it, I would have been angry, I would have been shocked, and they did not, as much as I'm not a fan of my own family, they did not deserve that out of me.
Oh my god.
I feel like, when that happened, I felt like a, what do you call those, a trident, a pitchfork?
Oh yeah.
The one you see like...
An angry mob with pitchforks and torches and shit.
It's kind of like the one you see that either the Devil hold, or in recent comic book iterations, Aquaman would hold.
Oh,
or
yeah,
you
the
see
trident.
King Neptune.
Yeah.
The trident, yes, I was right. It is the trident. I felt like a trident was stabbed in me.
I feel like I've had numerous giant pins stuck in my skin. And like a porcupine, I'm going to stick them into the NFL today. So it's time. It's time. Overall, that week 4 was overall the worst week we've ever had for all of our teams.
Minus the Patriots, who were off for the week
Combined.
because they were the champions.
Yeah, they were the champions. They get their week 4 bye. They get to rest up. They get nice amount of rest and stuff.
Honestly, they didn't need it. Their injuries were fine, but I mean, LaFell could come back, I guess.
He's on the PUP list, so he's out for 6 games no matter what.
Yeah, well, time passes.
Oh yeah, yep. And he can only get anything but better.
The only consistent thing at this point.
But oh my god, all of our teams.
So we're gonna start in Texas. Well, actually, technically, it was in the Georgia Dome, where Atlanta blew out the Texans. Devontae Freeman showing he is the next Marshawn Lynch, scoring 3 touchdowns. He has the most touchdowns as a single player in general. Surprisingly, this is surprising that no one will talk about because, well, what is there to praise for Houston apart from J.J. Watt having a J.J. Watt day, blocking 2 passes and getting 3 tackles for loss and a sack? Or was it 2? No, that was 1 sack against Matt Ryan.
Yep.
And Julio Jones actually was contained for 38 yards.
Yep.
But I guess when they put up 21 points, they were like, it's fine anyway.
The worst thing that happened for Houston is the running game and Devontae Freeman happened. And once Devontae Freeman happened, they were in some serious trouble because Devontae Freeman, he just runs with a violent streak to him. He's carving up the league, and it's not just the Houston Texans defense he's done it to. He did it to the previous week's victim, and I think that's going to continue. That's the starting running back of the Falcons. It's not Tevin Coleman, and no disrespect to Tevin Coleman, but Devontae Freeman's the better running back for the Falcons. He's a more violent runner and a better runner, and to run well against that defense and the aforementioned J.J. Watt or Jadeveon Clowney or Brian Cushing, that's a work of art. You gotta that's a good running day.
Well, I'm saving my rant a little bit longer because I actually want to talk about the game.
Yeah.
With that running game you mentioned, Foster, in his first game, he came back, looked old, fumbled the ball. Wasn't actually, surprisingly, not to his fault, because his own offensive lineman, Derek Newton, actually got the ball away from him.
Ouch.
That is probably one of the worst. If that wasn't a playoff game, people would instantly tack that up. Or should I say, let me rephrase that. If that wasn't a playoff game and that wasn't a game where Houston was in it, like this was like the final drive, that if they didn't get a touchdown or a field goal, they would lose. that would have been chalked up there with the butt fumble, the fumble, which you tackle on with. I'm talking about the Browns playoff game.
Yeah.
I think you know what I'm talking about, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
They just call it the fumble.
Yeah. Yep.
They would tack it up with those two as one of the most horrific plays to ever happen to a team.
I didn't
But
see that, but
you don't want to see it.
I'll put it this way. The Houston Texans offense is the weakest point of the team, and really their biggest stars are DeAndre Hopkins and Arian Foster, and I feel like Foster was just a tad bit rusty. I don't I I don't know if it was the age as much as he didn't have any training camp, he didn't have any, preseason, and he didn't have any practice, etc., except going into the week. So
Honestly, they should never practice him because that seems when he gets hurt.
yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the issue. I feel like he'll get up to speed in time.
Oh, he's gonna have to this week. This game matters so much. If Houston don't win this, they're gone for good. I've already buried Houston, by the way. Just to clarify, if they at least beat the Chiefs or the Panthers, I would have said they are very much still in this. But they did not. So I've already buried Houston 6 feet under for this year. But regardless, I'm going to now. Oh, Bill, do you have anything else to say? Because I think I'm about to go. I'm about to start.
Okay, you can go, man.
Alright, so where do I begin with the other problems? The line, Dwayne Brown was back, so the line was a lot more stable, but it didn't matter. The defense for Atlanta has gotten a lot better because Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded coach. That was exactly... They could not have got a more perfect coach at the time because the offense was ready from the beginning. He wasn't with a team like Rex Ryan. The reason why he's doing much better than non-NFL media people expect is because he's already on a team that has plenty of offensive talent. Though most of them are hurt, they're going to come back at some point and they will make more of an impact. You had a team composed of, before we had the QB decision, Sammy Watkins, Percy Harvin, and LaShawn McCoy. That you have enough talent right there to make a serious playoff run. That's enough offense you need. That's all you really need. As long as they stay healthy, which only Percy Harvin's healthy. But and the same happened here where they had Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. But now you have emerging running back Devontae Freeman.
Yep.
So what more do they do? Just focus on defense. And it paid off. It's paying off for them. That's what they needed, a defense, and now they are seriously a playoff contender. I honestly can't wait for Atlanta to play the Cardinals. I think they play the Cardinals this year. So I can't wait to see that one. A rematch of a game that could have gone the other way if Carson Palmer was there. But I think Carson Palmer and the Cardinals will actually control... They will control the Falcons. But going back to Houston... Their defense was also, at some points, when they were passing, the defense was going up in Matt Ryan's face. But when they were running, Kyle Shanahan is a head coach in the making. I'm amazed he didn't become a head coach for a team yet. He might next year. You don't know that because I don't know if you saw the way he moves that line. I'm just saying, if you think that Dallas's offensive line is great as is, imagine if Kyle Shanahan was there. I think they'd make any running back into a star.
Right.
So, I give Kyle Shanahan credit, but I don't know how Houston did not foresee this, considering you've had 3 weeks of this shit happening. But I guess whatever. So, here's where I start to get upset. Ryan Mallett just... He underthrows. It's with a lot of power. Nobody questions his arm strength. Nobody, and I won't deny it. I don't think anyone can deny it. He can throw the deep ball, and granted, he did take some shots down the field this time, and I was glad. I hope to see more of that. But he tends to overthrow that. He really needs to work on the deep ball, which is what I don't think Bill O'Brien will ever let him do. He needs to work on adjusting his throws to shoot a little more up. I mean, on one hand, if you throw low, it's very hard to get picked off because they tend to cover from the top. But regardless, you don't need to make it really hard for your wide receivers just to get the ball and then they're down on the floor just holding it. No, they should catch and run. It's not like But actually, talking about wide receivers, Cecil Shorts and Nate Washington are out. They're hurt. They're not out for the year, but they are hurting.
Yeah.
So who's next? Keith Mumphrey, who's actually doing decent. You need him. And now Jalen Strong, who was inactive for most games because he is apparently not in shape, now has to get his act together because whether he's ready or not, he's in this game. He's going to be in the game. He has to become the one to complement DeAndre Hopkins and replace Andre Johnson. It's like your number's up, boy. You have to play, and you have to play on a short notice on top of that. So just like another team we'll be talking about later, they're also going to the last of their wide receivers until the other ones come back.
Yup.
So now, staying with Mallet, I don't know what the fuck he's been doing not getting those throws in right, because I cannot stress enough how he keeps underthrowing, and I'm going to be honest, I've lost faith in him already. When it comes to the picks, we both have Houston, but honestly, they're in a must-win situation. They're in that situation like the Lions were this week, but we'll talk about the Lions later. I'm gonna be quoting an article now. I've found this like the night I found this the night of the loss against the Falcons, and I'm gonna read some parts from it. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay, and I quote. Here's like the third paragraph of this one. I'm not going to read it all, obviously. No matter what some mega-rich owner says, teams need great playmakers. Bob McNair is grossly mistaken in his assessment of team needs. He thinks that Texans running backs are fine, and that super quarterbacks aren't necessary. The Texans' weekly result is a reflection of those insane beliefs. They're the most boring team in the history of the sport. Watching the game is about as enjoyable as a trip to the dentist. You're uneasy before it starts, uncomfortable during the action, and then excruciating pain after it's over. Actually, I was numb to it, to be honest. But let's go on to now. I'm skipping down. Head coach Bill O'Brien signed Brian Hoyer, made him a starter, and then relieved him of starter duties before the first game ended. Ryan Mallett and his amazingly strong but horrendously inaccurate arm are throwing this season low and away, like many of his pass attempts. Oh, and their fourth round future solution, Tom Savage, is unavailable due to a season-ending injury sustained in the preseason, rounding out the Texans' pitiful quarterback situation. Okay, now let's go down. In your spare time, look over the last 4 drafts and see if you can fill up one hand with explosive, game-changing players. The talent and evaluation staff for Houston is a punchline at an amateur comedy club. I'm not done. I'm not done citing this, but actually, I should have actually got this site up for today. I'm actually going to read to you the last picks. In fact, Houston's been around for a little while, but maybe I should finish. Actually, I'll finish this first before I go to the picks.
Oh jeez.
All right. The Texans lost. I'm going to read the last of the article. Everything at the bottom. The Texans' loss today was inevitable, but an embarrassing thrashing should be an eye-opener to this organization. Their toddler-like roster-building skills. The Texans look like they'll be picking top 10 in the 2016 draft, maybe even top 10 if things don't improve instantly. So get prepared for University of California QB Jared Goff. Oh wait, the Texans don't make those type of picks. Instead, get ready for Ohio State defensive end Joey Bosa, because the best available defensive player is what wins games in this league. Not really. They're not wrong. In fact, I will read to you all of their picks, because they've only been around since 2002. 13 years. So 13 first-round picks.
Okay.
I can do this. Let's start 2002. Who'd they draft? David Carr, a quarterback. That makes sense.
Yep.
Next year, Andre Johnson, who's surprisingly still in this league, but with the Colts. Another offensive player. Okay. 2004, Deontay Robinson, cornerback. They actually got 2 first-round picks in this one, so technically it's 14. So let's get the other one. Jason Babin, defensive end.
Okay.
2005, Travis Johnson. 2006, Mario Williams, who's with the Bills. 2007, Amobi Okoye, defensive tackle. 2008, Dwayne Brown, offensive tackle. I count that as offense, of course.
Yep.
2009, Brian Cushing. 2010, Kareem Jackson. 2011, J.J. Watt, the best pick they've ever had. 2012, Whitney Merciless. 2013, DeAndre Hopkins. 2014, Jadeveon Clowney. 2015, Kevin Johnson. How many of those, can you count how many of those in your head were offensive players?
Like 4 or 5.
Okay, so we've had 14 picks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we had David Carr, Andre Johnson, Dwayne Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
That's 4 out of 14. Let's do
Wait,
some math.
that is.
So they have a .28 chance of drafting an offensive player. 28% of the players they've drafted in the first rounds of their lifetime have been offensive players.
Right.
That guy is not wrong. They are a heavily defensive-minded one, and Bill O'Brien's offensive, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm not doubting Kevin Johnson. He's been good. They weren't wrong when they said he's probably the most ready. But hold on a second. Yeah. Okay, we're back. So where was I? Oh yeah. So there's a 28% chance they'll probably get a offensive player, no matter where they're at. So Jerry Jones was called an idiot for all what he picked. And now he's a genius because he got a bunch of the greatest offensive line in the league. So now I ask, is Bob McNair planning something? Because it doesn't seem to be showing. What are they missing? I think the defense is fine. You know why the defense isn't playing good? Because it's always playing. It does more. It's been out there more of the time, most of the time. Time management matters. Houston knows it. That's what their goal is, to have control of the clock. That's how when they win their games, it's usually because, apart from turnovers that they create, but it's because they have control of the clock. But when they don't have control of the clock, this shit happens.
Yep.
It's due to the running game, but honestly, now if I know Houston would go into the draft, would I be mad if they chose that, what's his name? The one you were talking about, Bill, before we started recording. The one that they want him in the draft this year. He looks ready, but he has to wait another year.
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, they would love to have Leonard Fournette, and I would think that's a great pick. That's not a wrong pick, even though we need a quarterback. But alas, it won't happen. So now I'm interested in this Jared Goff guy. I've looked into him. He's also a potential Heisman Trophy winner, which he probably won't win, since you think that Leonard Fournette will get it, but who knows? But honestly, I'm going to be looking into to the best quarterbacks that are going to be coming into the draft this year. And if he comes in, I hope to God Houston gets him. Because, Bill, let's go over what teams need a quarterback right now. Let's not count the Browns, because we already know their answer, or what they should be trying to use, but they just... What's the coach's name again? That idiot. He's about as bad. He's about as bad as Joe Philbin.
It's Mike Pettin.
He's about as bad as the Dolphins coach, who's now fired, which we will talk about that later. But yes, he does not want Manziel to play. It's like, what did he do to you, man? Did he take a piss in your cereal a day? And this is like a grudge you've got over it?
I don't get.
You're not Belichick, who's like, oh, you showed up late to a meeting, I'm not going to let you play at all during the season and then cut you next year. The difference is Belichick's a fucking genius. He's got... What?
And the other thing is that, every game that, what's his face, McCown has started, they've lost.
Yep. So, when it comes to Houston, we love our defense. We love defense. It's kind of the opposite to Dallas is all about loving offense. But the difference is this past draft and this past offseason, they sacrificed DeMarco Murray, which in my opinion has shown to be the better thing to do. And to get a bunch of defensive players like Greg Hardy, keep relying on McClain, and draft a bunch of defensive players. They are showing. DeMarcus Lawrence got a sack against Drew Brees. And of course, you have Tyrone Crawford, who's breaking out as well. I think he also got a sack on Drew Brees. So they're doing much better. The line is getting a little bit better, but once Greg Hardy comes back this week, it should make those other guys do much more, because Greg Hardy is going to do great. He might even get double covered. I don't think he will, but he might to some teams, especially if they're if they have a really shitty line, need to protect their quarterback.
Right.
So that'll be fun when that happens. Once everyone comes back, which they should around the bye, after this next game, we'll see. But with Houston, seriously guys, draft a quarterback. Do what the Titans did and the Jaguars did. They've got who they think are their franchise quarterbacks. You're now in a situation where if those two come out and become actually show they are franchise quarterbacks, the division will be great, but you'll be the one team holding them back. You will be the Washington football team. You will be the Oakland Raiders, who now have theirs, but for the past few years, they've also been that one bad team who don't have a quarterback in an otherwise great division.
Yup.
So let's see. You're the Washington football team, you're the Oakland Raiders, you're the Rams now. They've all got quarterbacks they think are the ones. So you need to either Mallet improves and becomes the one by the end of the year, or you send him or Hoyer packing in favor of getting, I don't know, Jared Goff or whoever. But what, Bill?
And to be fair, there's only one other team I can think of that has a need at quarterback, and that'd probably be the Jets.
That probably would be the Jets for the future, but they drafted one this year, and I think they're going to check on him. They're going to give him enough reps to make him better, but that's what they're probably going for, but who knows. Same with the Saints, but mostly because Drew Brees is going to retire someday. Not this year, probably next year,
and
maybe.
I'll put it this way: I'm not sold on Brock Osweiler being the quarterback of the future in Denver. I would not be surprised if they drafted a quarterback.
Yep, so among teams that need one, Houston, obviously. The Jets, you might say the Bears, but I'll be honest, they are a lot better with Jay Cutler. I mean, we hate him, and he's not the greatest quarterback, but he's a lot better for them than Jimmy Clausen.
So true.
It's Jay Cutler haters in Chicago fascinate me. They hate him, they want him out, but when Jimmy Clausen's there, it's like, we don't want him. Get Jay Cutler back.
Oh, man.
You guys are some of the worst. So I would say Chicago, but if they play well enough, they might not need him. And I think it's just them. The Rams showing better with Nick Foles, I guess, but I mean, they play so inconsistently. I just don't know.
Right.
So if Houston, this is the best chance for Houston to get one, because everybody drafted all their quarterbacks in the last couple of years. You're next in line. So this is the time. Next season's the time. I don't care if Houston loses all the games, because I'm already just looking forward to next year's draft. I've buried Houston. They're not making the playoffs unless the Colts and every other team with them sucks in the division. Which it's very well going that way. AFC South proving to be the weakest division once again. And hey, if it makes you feel better, the NFC East is already joining you there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh well, so let's move on to the NFC East with Dallas, who lost in an overtime thriller to... It wasn't even an overtime thriller. It was 6 seconds long, with Drew Brees getting his 400 touchdown in spectacular fashion. He's now in the 400 club with Tom Brady, Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, and Brett Favre. Dan Marino, by the way, has 420 touchdowns. 420, blaze it.
Yep. Oh, man.
But, so, let's get through the injuries, because Dallas is in even worse shape than Houston or
Yeah.
Detroit, at least in terms of the roster.
Oh.
So before this, Dez had the broken foot, and now um, Romo has the broken clavicle.
Yep.
Okay, so how could it possibly get worse?
Oh,
Sean Lee
jeez.
has a concussion, which honestly, that's not that bad because you're gonna lose to the Patriots. So think of it as an extra bye week for him. Then you have the actual bye week. He'll
Yep.
be back by the next game against the Giants. You need him for that. You have Lance Dunbar out for the season with a knee injury.
Which is a huge blow for the Cowboys' pass offense because he was a bright spot in that passing offense out of the backfield.
Yep. Who else is out?
Oh,
There were
who
other players who were hurt.
who didn't get hurt for the Cowboys is more of the question.
I forgot his name, but there's a guy who caught a 65-yard deep ball by Brandon Whedon, and then his hamstrings hurt. I think he's fine. I haven't heard anything bad about him. It didn't look that bad. I'm guessing it's just a sprained hamstring. Which how long are you out for those? 2 to 4 weeks?
Sprained hamstring, probably 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. So that too is not that bad because how fortunate that you have an early bye. That turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Because Bill, you know me. I hate buys that are early in the week. I like it around week 8 in the middle
Yeah, that
because you need a break before the final stretch.
yeah, and you need also a break, you know, uh, at a point that you know that nagging injuries will start cropping up for your players, and that'd be about week 6 or 7. So that's a perfect time where you can rest up your players and move on to the rest of the year.
But Dallas, with their players, they needed it early, so fortunate. But they have to go through the Patriots. But sticking with this game, the running game had bright spots at the beginning. They tore apart the Saints, but once again, second half, they didn't do much.
Yep. It sort of seemed like the New Orleans Saints sort of came out and adjusted their defense, and the Cowboys didn't really adjust their offense accordingly. You know, they weren't using a lot of play action to free up like a tight end like Jason Witten or Gavin Escobar. That those those two guys, you have two big tight ends, and you're running the football really well. Why not play action and throw it down the middle, right down their gut? That way, then they don't know what's hitting them, and then that loosens the coverage on people like Terrence Williams or any of the other Cowboys wide receivers, and then you start getting touchdowns that way. Whereas what they did is that they kept either running or they were throwing deep passes with Brandon Whedon. You just don't do that with Whedon. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that. I mean, the best thing going forward is that they still have their two best running backs, pure running backs, in Joseph Randle and Darren McFadden. They don't have their best pass catching running back, and that is the thing that's gonna hurt them the most because then there's no threat out of the backfield to, oh, he's gonna leak out into coverage. I need to cover him. It's more, oh, if he's back there, most likely it's gonna be either a handoff or he's gonna be back there pass blocking for Whedon.
Yeah. I'm not mad at Wheaton. I'm not even mad at this game because had I known Drew Brees was gonna play, because they forced him into that game. They were in a must-win situation, like many 0-3 teams this week, which most of them came out on top, all but one. We'll get to that later. Um, we they just they are they are just in a really bad situation with all their injuries, and this brings up one possibility because, like I told you before we started the call, Trent Richardson, the worst running back in this league, is working out with the Bills because the Bills are down to their last guy. Actually, I just realized something. The Bills are down to their last guy. The the Seahawks, I don't think they have any guys left. It's just Russell Wilson. I'm going to hand the ball to myself and run for 20 yards.
Yeah, that was a brutal game, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. And Dallas lost one of theirs. Now, Bill, among these three teams, who's they're gonna people are gonna be asking for Dallas, or Seattle. A Mr. Ray Rice. Do you think Dallas is the team of second chances with Jerry Jones? Out of all
I
three teams, he's most likely to go to Dallas.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like he's a better fit in Dallas than in Seattle because Seattle is a more downhill running team, whereas Ray Rice is more of a outside finesse type running back. So he's a better fit in Dallas than in Seattle. And the other thing about Seattle is they still have Thomas Rawls, and we
They're gonna
don't
get
really know how long Marshawn's gonna be out for. You just never know with him.
Yep. But so out of all three teams, I'm saying Dallas will get him, but it all depends on what Jerry Jones thinks. Because like with people were saying before, when Houston could have got him, they're saying, "Oh, that's an owner's decision too, not just the coaches." And McNair said he would not get Ray Rice. Good on him, I guess, but that's the one good thing about his decision making. Other than that, it's not that great. Draft a QB, draft a QB to change my mind, Bob McNair. Just do it. But
Oh man,
in all seriousness, I'm not mad with Dallas at all. This is the one I was kind of numb. Sure, I was really bummed out when that happened, but it's fucking Drew Brees.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, that was a really well played game by both teams, and both teams deserved to win it. It just so happened that one busted coverage led to the end of the game. That game could have easily been a tie. That game could have easily been a tie.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't have a tie for this year coming. Maybe next year. But what was I gonna say? When it comes to Drew Brees, I'm surprised nobody's noticed. In overtime, he takes shots down the field. He does, like, if you want, look at last year's overtime in New Orleans when the 49ers came. What did he do? He threw down the field, and that's what won them the game. He
Yep.
does not go for the first downs. He takes the shots. So,
Yep.
Dallas, I say good try. You could have played better, honestly. They didn't focus on the run more, but I'm not mad at Whedon. I'm not saying switch to Castle, because I don't like Castle. He's old. Not as old as fucking, what's his name? Hasselback, who
Oh my
played
God.
that week. Not as old as Hasselback, but still pretty old.
Right.
So, nothing against Whedon. I'm not mad at him, though he will look really bad this coming week. And that's what's going to make Dallas fans want the switch. But I was like, guys, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yup.
So,
Oh man.
anyway, Bill, are you ready to move to the final game? Because, like I said, New England did not play today. Because if they did, they would have blown out the next team, which would be Dallas.
Am I ever ready for this?
All right, let me fill in the blanks. So, a defensive struggle happened. Russell Wilson kept getting punished. Matthew Stafford and the Lions offense couldn't get anything done until the very end of the game. And when that very end of the game happened, Matt Stafford went on a 90-yard drive, showing his fourth quarter talent. That is when he truly shines. And what happened? Was it third and one? Yes, third and one. He throws to Calvin Johnson. It's caught. It's already a first down. But Calvin Johnson. And this is... Okay, Bill, my rant starts first for this one. He tries to pull a Dez Bryant in Green Bay, tries to be a hero and go for the touchdown, not just take the first and goal. He tries to run it in. The ball gets knocked out by Cam Chancellor. And it goes into the end zone. It's a touchback. Let's not get into the controversy yet, Bill. Let's focus on the actual play, okay?
Oh,
And let's act.
yeah.
And the only reason the Lions were in it, by the way, was not because, like I said earlier, Russell Wilson got beaten up. He got sacked 4 or 5 times this game, and he fumbled the ball twice. One was just recovered, which the Lions didn't do anything with. I don't think they did.
Nope.
The other was returned for a touchdown.
Right.
So
Now,
now with this back to this play, Calvin Johnson, I know he's great. He's just him and Dez, best wide receivers in the game, some of the best. All right,
right.
but you just in that situation where you know if you don't get it in, if you don't get the first down, you're done. Well, in this case, they would have had to settle for a field goal. Was not as dire as Dallas against Green Bay. You could have got the first and goal at the 6, I think. That's a little more manageable. But no, you tried to go for the end zone, which I get it. He has the capability, but
It
Legion of Boom was
to
ready for that.
to be fair, any player's gonna do that. And to be fair, Kelvin was getting tackled, and he was on top of a defender, and he was falling forward and going to be down most likely before he even got in the end zone. And the thing about it is Chancellor timed the punch so perfectly to knock it out of Kelvin's hands. And sure, everyone's saying, "Oh, it's Kelvin's fault because he didn't secure the football." Well, he's also securing that way he doesn't fall flat, fall on his face and get a concussion or anything. So he's bracing himself and the impact of falling down, like every human being in the history of being human would ever do, and he's bracing himself to hit the ground.
Okay. Okay.
So you are obviously going to have only one hand on the football in this situation, and if anybody out there that says that they wouldn't do the exact same thing as Calvin and fall like that, it's not going to happen. Every situation that you would have seen, if it was Jordy Nelson doing the exact same thing, Jordy Nelson would have fumbled that football.
Yes. But I'm going to say this. You gotta love how Chancellor holds out against two teams he knows that his team can lose to, but will gladly play against weaker teams like Detroit or Chicago. What a
And
true leader that guy is.
to be fair, Detroit's not a weak team. That they
I'm
showed
going by
something.
record.
Yeah, they showed something in that game that a good team has, and that's resilience. No matter what's happening, they always are in it to the end, and they were in it to the end. And the offense may have struggled, and Joe Lombardi needs to be fired because he's a terrible offensive
He
coordinator.
does not belong with I mean, forgot this is a team that needs to run the ball more. That's their problem. And Joe Lombardi comes from a pass-happy team. It does not
Yeah,
fit. He needs
he's
someone like Kyle Shanahan.
you have Amir Abdullah. Joe Lombardi is a joke. He needs to go. He just needs to go. I don't want to ever read anything about Joe Lombardi in Detroit ever again. But I'm gonna have to suffer this year with Joe Lombardi because he's getting fired at the end of the year. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about it because everyone in Detroit doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
back to
So
that
let's
play.
go back. Yes, let's go back to the play. And I'm gonna say this since let's stick with Cam Chancellor for one more minute. I'm gonna say his agent saw this, he had to jump for joy because now Cam Chancellor can hold out for more money. I actually see him holding out this week against the Bengals. I can see it happening.
I don't see him holding out at all
But
this
all
year.
right then, and if that's the case, then what about next off season?
Oh, he'll hold out over the off season. That's almost guaranteed. It's just that he's not going to do it again this year. He's already lost too much money, and he's got to get paid, and he's
So
he's
much
not.
for So much for a team. So much for a guy that's like it's all about the team, all about the team. Are you
I
sure?
mean, it's a business, and the teams hold all the leverage. So I have no problem with him holding out on a
I just think
team.
he's kind of a hypocrite.
Oh yeah, but
That
Cam Chancellor. Cam Chancellor made an amazing play. That you gotta give it to Chancellor.
I
That
do
was
give
an
it to Chancellor,
amazing.
but I'm still gonna call him the biggest hypocrite out there in that game.
That was an amazing play.
Yeah.
But
Okay, Phil. Can we talk about the real 12th man? The ref. Let's go into it. The only the Lions would get fucked over by two not flags that should have been flags but didn't happen in a
yep.
single year span. It hasn't even been a year since the Lions got fucked over by the game in Dallas, and now
And
you have this one.
my hair set on fire in the playoff game. And had I been watching that, my hair would have set on fire again. Okay, the NFL, the NFL has this thing about integrity, etc. They go and fight Tom Brady about integrity of the game. Deflategate. Deflategate's all about integrity of the game. So, what's the difference between a NFL referee who doesn't know the NFL rule book that he's getting paid to referee games for and costing the Detroit Lions a game? I'm not saying that they're going to win. I'm not saying that they don't go to overtime or kick a field goal or whatever. But they had a chance at winning a football game, and it's constantly getting taken away by referees. We should have moved on into the playoffs last year. We get screwed over by a terrible call. They pick up a flag that should have never been picked up, and then here we go again. Detroit comes into the Mecca of football, Seattle, and oh my God, we get to down to the 1 yard line. The ball's punched out, and Chancellor makes an amazing play. The guy admits that he intentionally hit it out of bounds, and had the referee known the playbook, the Lions get the football 1st and 1 at the 1 yard line. At 1st and goal at the 1 yard line. It's a travesty. And the best thing of it is the photo of the stupid fat referees sitting there looking straight at the play. He's looking at it. Where is the integrity of the game for the fairness to all teams? Do you want Seattle in the playoffs? Because, oh my God, it's the Legion of Boom! I can sell some t-shirts. Or do you want to actually play fair to all the NFL teams in this league, instead of, oh my God, it's Detroit. We hate the city of Detroit. It's America's punching bag. Well, screw that crap. The city of Detroit, we deserve having a winning team. We get screwed over every time by the referees, and it's tiresome. I'd rather watch the University of Michigan and Michigan State than watch the NFL and Ford, the official truck of the NFL. Screw that shit. I don't want to even watch this corporate bullshit.
All right, Bill. I'll tell you this: the ref, had the flag in his hands, ready to throw it, but he felt he didn't need to. So he knew the
Yeah.
rules. He just didn't want to throw the flag. I'll tell you the real
Most
reason. He just wanted to leave. Game was
most
if this were okay, Bill. If this were in like the third quarter, that flag would have been thrown. If it were in any other quarter but the fourth, it would have been thrown.
I'm telling you right now, the NFL needs to. There should be a death penalty in terms of referees. If you screw up a call so much to cost the team a game at the very end of the season, and you do 3 of these per year, you are barred from being an NFL referee ever again. Get rid of this garbage that we consistently seemingly get. We get Herman Munster for our last game, or Lurch, or whatever the fuck he looks like. Then we get this stupid fat fuck sitting in the back of the end zone, not throwing penalty flags and not knowing the NFL rulebook that he's paid to know. You need to weed out this garbage. What is a mayor? You can't even tell me that you can get. Oh my God, I can't keep track of my own footballs in the AFC title game to make sure that they're not getting tampered with. This is the NFL. That's the integrity of the game. The integrity is being undermined by Roger Goodell, who's a piece of shit, and the piece of shit referees that they got. Bunch of paid off garbage referees.
Okay, I see, Bill. Well, to add up to that, I will say what I said before. He knew what to do. He didn't want to throw it because the game was almost over. He wants to leave, and
Yeah,
I'm not
he
surprised.
wanted to leave to go eat a fucking breadstick.
Oh God, if only you knew about the meme about the breadsticks right now. I'm not going into it though. Not enough time. So, with that said, um, so so we've had like the vice president of officiating talk about this. We've had people in the NFL media talking about this. Even other players saying whether this should be a thrown flag or not. And most people agree this should have been thrown. Because the game would have been changed entirely. Detroit would have likely have gotten a touchdown, but who knows? We don't know that.
I mean,
That's what if.
I mean, it could have been a field goal. Hell, they could have missed the field goal, but at least I would have felt better if we kicked the field goal, it got blocked, it missed, whatever. At least they would have had a shot to score the points that they deserved. In this situation, we had the carpet ripped out from under us. We fell flat on our face, and we're 0-4, and we're America's punchline again, even though the Seahawks look like garbage in that game against our defense. Oh my God, Russell Wilson, the second coming of, everyone's favorite quarterback, and he's running around for his life, and oh my God, Russell Wilson's the greatest quarterback ever. That was yesterday's game in a nutshell. Oh my God, Russell Wilson's running around. He's so great. If he was so great, why did they only score 13 points?
Well, I'll give credit to the Seattle defense because there were many times the Lions were in great field position because of either the muff punt return who was that guy? Lockett? He did not secure the ball. He tried to call fair catch, I think, but he dropped it. So the Lions recovered in Seattle territory. There was also the fumble that wasn't returned. It was just a fumble returned or picked up by Detroit in Seattle territory. They didn't get anything out of that. So I'll give Seattle credit because with 2 turnovers in your own territory, any other team would have probably got at least 6 points off of that.
Yeah, what I'm sick and tired of listening to was that they're making it out to like the Seattle Seahawks, offense was so great
It was not great. It was a
wasn't-
defensive slugfest.
It wasn't great. Those were 2 great defensive teams. The Seattle Seahawks are a great defensive team. They deserve better than to win this game on a controversial
It's
call.
only cheating if it's the Patriots.
Just like the Fail Mary 4 or 5 years ago. They deserve better. The Seahawks deserve, if they were to win that game, they deserve better and a better treatment from the NFL and the officials of the NFL.
All right, Bill.
The Detroit Lions deserve better as well.
All right, Bill. I gotta move on and get to the last part I want to mention.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna start reading to you some tweets I said. I've already read to you some about with the Hall Camp Chancellor being a great leader. Not really. Breaking. After reviewing the KJ Wright tape, Roger Goodell has announced that he'll be suspending Tom Brady for 16 games. He totally would. He totally would. Okay.
He's such a joke. He's a joke.
Okay, and now some of NFL media saying we have this Calvin Johnson rule number 2.
it's always the Kelvin Johnson rule. Everything goes against the Detroit Lions. It's so pathetic.
All right, Bill. Now, I have to read to you the thing I was hiding. Michael Bennett
Okay.
talking at the post game about Stafford. This I'm okay. Don't I will I'm gonna say the quote and then I'm gonna tell you what I thought of it in tweet form. Okay,
Okay.
Michael Bennett. I don't like Matt Stafford much. He's from Dallas. They killed the president, JFK. I hold it against him. I'm at a loss for words with this. This the weirdest and stupidest post game quote in my lifetime. That was the weirdest. I was like, what? What? Just I'm probably gonna put that ego raptor thing where Aaron's like, what? And that's from sequelitis. But
Um.
what?
Well,
But okay. And somebody clarified. We have Martellus Bennett comparing Jay Cutler to Jesus, and Michael Bennett holding Texas responsible for the assassination of JFK in one day.
uh,
The
what?
Bennetts are an interesting group of family. Okay, fuck that show with the Kardashian show. Let's have a Bennett reality show because you get the stupidest shit ever, and it will
I
rake in
mean,
the views.
wh-
Okay, I
okay.
have to finish this, Phil. Stafford's parents were probably not even born when this shit happened. Did he get hit during the game? I seriously was like, you know what, Bennett, can you go get checked if you have a concussion or something?
I mean, what?
I told you
Oh,
I'm glad you didn't find this out. I wanted to
what
surprise you.
the hell? Okay.
I've heard some weird shit. I think you've heard some weird shit in not just the
Oh,
NFL, in sports in general. But
oh,
that has to be quote of the year right there. Quote of the year.
it'd be like saying I hate the state of whatever for whatever
No,
what?
I hate plays and musicals because that's where Abraham Lincoln got killed. I blame all of
Yeah,
them.
I hate the cold weather because that's what killed William Henry Harrison. I mean, what the hell, man?
That is this. It's like, so what? Do you hate the Cowboys for that? Do you hate the Texans for that? What do they do to you?
You're gonna go to every cold weather city and be like, oh my god, that's the stuff that killed Harrison. I mean, what the hell, man?
It is
What?
some of the stupidest shit I've ever heard, and now I can't wait to see what happens to Seattle next week. I mean,
Oh
this is the
man.
one time I'm like, Cincinnati, for God's sakes, don't lay an egg in this one. Do not,
But
Andy Dalton, do not lose it. I want you to
in
beat Seattle.
in finality, I want to say that was a good win for Seattle. It was a very tough win. It was a hard fought win for both teams. And, you know, uh, I just wish the game would have played out differently. So that way, both teams would have got the outcome of the game in a deserved fashion and then not in the fashion that this actually occurred.
I think there is a curse with the Lions. It's just not from like, oh, what do they build their stadium on some ancient Indian burial ground or something? Like, no, they're cursed by the NFL every day. It's like Roger Goodell and other people in NFL corporate higher ups. They make a chant to curse the Lions. Actually, I
It's
shouldn't do that. But yeah.
I mean, literally, Tom Roger Goodell probably has a voodoo doll of Tom Brady in his
Oh,
office,
but it don't
and
work.
then
It only makes them better. Ha!
he sticks a pin in his arm, and it just leads to 5 touchdown passes, and Roger Goodell's
I
like,
want a
"Fuck."
refund. Okay, so let's go and look over other week 4 games. I've got 6 games wrong. The Washington football team game wrong. The Bills game wrong. The Giants won that. Bears won, which what the fuck happened?
Yeah, that was another one that I
I don't
did
want to get
wrong.
into that one.
I picked all those with you, so we were
Actually,
both.
you and I had two picks that were different. With the Chiefs and Bengals one, I got that right. You got that wrong. And the Texans Falcons ones, which I got wrong, but you got right. The ones, everything else that I got wrong, you also got wrong too.
Yep.
So
So
as things
we're
stand,
basic.
I think you still have a one, maybe now 2 game lead over me. It's close.
Yeah, it's it. This year's been a really different year.
All right, so the one game I want to talk about, the Rams. We want to write off the Rams. Actually, there's another game, but we'll get to that later. The Rams somehow I thought they were done, but apparently some people were like, no, the Rams are only good in their division, and they're right. I don't know how they contain Carson Palmer and not and that red hot offense, but they cooled it down.
Yep.
I wish they do the same next week in Green Bay, but no Alec Ogletree, and it's in Lambeau. Maybe they'll break the
Yeah.
interception thing. Maybe they'll do it. Maybe, but Packers just gonna make the Rams look bad.
That the Packers are another team that's dealing with a lot of injuries, though.
Yeah, but as long as Aaron Rodgers there, he'll make anybody a star.
Yeah, that's very true.
So,
Uh,
but 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 give credit. Nick Foles threw 3 touchdowns, but Bill, the one I want to talk about, Todd Gurley. I knew he'd get picked by the Rams. I got it right, and he's showing that they are a much better team when the run game gets going.
oh yeah.
Bill, have you ever heard? Because I was gonna first when I if the Eagles were gonna do great, like if they were like 3-1 right now, and the Rams were 2-2 right now, I was gonna ask you. I had this question planned out since preseason. Um,
Okay.
has there ever been a draft or a player trade where both teams benefited? Like there wasn't one who got the short end of the stick.
Oh yeah. There's been multiple.
So that's where I was gonna ask, but I guess not. I think Nick Foles was better with is better for the Rams. Well, that's assuming you keep it
Oh.
up because if they can go 9-7 this year, I don't think they'll make the playoffs. But hey, at this point,
Uh,
the wild card spots are so wide open for both conferences. I don't even know. I mean, like, who did I have for the playoffs? This like for the wild card spots, I had Houston Houston, a mix of Houston, the Chargers, and the Dolphins, and all three teams suck.
oh
The
damn.
Chargers, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't know how they won against the Browns. They should have won that much more handily, but they let the Browns hang around.
Yep.
But Rams team, their
Uh,
defense has always been for real.
yep. They just if Nick Foles can be consistent, they're a team to look out for.
They need to right now to me they need two more things, and then I could say they are a contender, and like
And
a
that
almost
is
guaranteed contender, a wide receiver threat, and another offensive lineman. They need a better line.
yeah.
So just get maybe just one player. One might be enough, but obviously you need more. But just get an offensive lineman and a wide receiver, and I will deem the Rams a playoff contender. Now another team that was always been remarked as a playoff contender, but somehow went 0-3, won their first game against Michael Vick and the Steelers. And I'm not saying it's Michael Vick's fault. I mean, you could argue it is because of that last throw that he overthrew. He threw too quickly because he expected a big blitz coming to him. He overthrew Antonio Brown, which would have got him first down if he caught it. But
Right.
it's like seriously, the Steelers did not do that great. Not I am not blaming that offense, but they did not run the ball enough with Levy and Bell. That's what cost them. Bad play calling.
Yep. Yep.
You let the Ravens hang, but honestly, against this is a divisional rivalry. Maybe even if Roethlisberger was here, the Ravens could have won. Maybe, but
Right.
I don't know. It probably would have been what Pittsburgh winning 31-20 here, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you think of that game, Bill? I saw the end. It was great.
I, it was a good game. It was a good game. I liked the
I'm just
game.
like Tomlin. You make really bad choices under pressure. I'm just saying.
It was just you know, I feel like the Steelers' offense was out of rhythm with Michael Vick, and the other thing about Michael Vick is he's also a lefty, so you have to get used to how he throws it compared to Ben Roethlisberger, who's a righty, you know, because the ball rotates different, and the ball,
Yeah.
you know,
Under a short
just
week notice, though, it's quite impressive that
yeah,
they lost only by 3.
yeah, it's a very it's a they did a decent it was a decent game for the Steelers. They could have did better, but the Ravens were just they were playing for their
Oh
lives.
yeah, if they went 0-4 too, oh I would have buried them. And honestly, they can go 2-3 with this next game, but who knows? Um, so yeah.
But
Plus the Pittsburgh Steelers had a Thursday night game, so they have a lot of time. And to top that off, they play Monday night, so they get an extra day.
yep.
So they have enough time to
And,
get used to Vic. Other game though, the last bit of news, Bill, he's gone. Most boring coach of the NFL's gone. Joe Philbin, his name is. The Dolphins fired him
oh,
in
what a
week
mess
4. It's so early.
Yep, they're a mess.
The Jets.
And
Let's mention the game. The Jets easily pummeled the Dolphins 27-14
in London,
in London. First in the London game.
and there was chance of Jets in Wembley.
Oh God. Oh man. A football podcast I listened to, and when it aired, the guy was wearing the Jets shirt. He was wearing his Jets shirt. 3-1 Jets. I don't know. I'm not deeming them playoff contenders yet. I am not. I am not
Oh
into
yeah,
it. But
they still have the Amish rifle in
I,
Fitzpatrick.
I miss him honestly. He was better in Houston. But Bill O'Brien, biased about his players that he had before in New England. Like I'm just gonna gather them all back, whether they're good or not, and I'm gonna say they're the best things in the business. No, not really.
You know what that is to do though? I feel what that is to instill the Patriot way.
But we're this is not the. Here's the thing: we're not the Patriots. We're not the fucking Patriots. We need to be the Texans, not the Patriots.
Yep.
That's the thing.
But
But
uh, typically, all disciples of great coaches are not as great as the coach that they're a disciple of. You know, like Bill O'Brien, he might be a good coach, but he's not Belichick.
well,
You know,
it's just to me, it's like if you don't try to be your master, you be yourself. You'll be a better coach.
exactly.
But now we're getting into personal things. Don't
But yeah,
the Jets 3-1. Brandon Marshall is being an All-Pro so far, despite
oh yeah.
that thing, the thing he did that cost him the game last week. Otherwise, they'd be 4-0.
You know, you know what we should do? Let's lateral the football at a defender. That sounds like a good idea.
Against the Dolphins, anything would work though. Honestly, I'm
Oh,
contemplating even Houston with their shit situation. Could they beat Miami? And same with Dallas. Could they beat Miami? I don't know.
yes.
Now,
Super Bowl
the last
50.
thing I want to mention, your favorite player, Bill, Ndamukong Suh. Next question. Next question. I'm not an emotional guy, so you shouldn't. So you're better off asking somebody else. Next question.
Are you worth $100 million? Next question. Are you this? Next question. Are you standing on the practice field without wearing your cleats? Next question.
All right, Bill. Bill, I, I, again, I keep making my comparison to Watt, but I think this is where it perfectly shines. Even though Watt doesn't act emotional in in the post game stuff, he's always emotional. He's always an emotional player. He
Right.
just keeps it professional. You can keep it professional without being emotional. I mean, the only one I think that can't do that is fucking Des Bryant. But It's actually a good thing when Des Bryant is upset that he lost in a game where he could have won. Isn't that right? Last year with Green Bay. Stupid
Yeah.
refs. But yeah.
What what I what I'll
Good
put is
players.
that
In fact, I think players in general are emotional. If you lose a game, you will feel angry. You should. That's natural. But if you're clearly there for the money, man.
yeah, he's not there to win. He doesn't care about winning. All he cares about is the check, and he's there for 16 weeks. He's not going to be cold because God forbid you're cold for 2 months of the year because oh my God, I have to play in a cold weather
Even
city.
though you're in a
Let's
dome.
go let's go to a warm weather city, play like garbage, and get your coach fired. Good idea.
Yep. Hey, Bill. But
The
oh.
greatest decision the Lions made was not signing Ndamukong Suh, and I was proven right.
Yeah, because you get to keep Levy whenever the fuck he shows up in a Hedabo, and I think another player, I can't remember his name. Who else did the Lions re-sign?
Levy, Hedbo, I don't remember.
Mathis, I think.
But yeah, Rasheed Mathis. We get 3 players that are playing on the team and starting for the price of one that's sitting barefoot on.
Houston's benefiting from not signing Andre Johnson too. They got Raheem Moore, they got Vince Wilfork, and they kept Whitney Merciless and Jonathan Joseph, or was it Kareem Jackson? One of those guys. But yeah. All right, but now that you mentioned the head coach, who's gonna replace him? Jim Schwartz? I hope Jim Schwartz goes because Bill, and you have a huge reason to hate the Dolphins.
Well, let's just put it this way. I'm gonna see who gets fired after this year to make a decision about that. If John Harbaugh were to get fired from the Ravens, guess who would be the first person that would get that Miami Dolphins job? John Harbaugh.
Yeah, because if the Colts make the postseason, he can't apply for there.
I mean, think of it this way: Chuck Pagano of the Colts. He could very well.
I think even if they win the Super Bowl, he'll get fired anyway.
I feel like Bill O'Brien's on the chopping block.
No, not really. I don't think he is. Bob McNair does not make those rash decisions. Look. I can see. Even if they go 5-11, he's not gonna get fired. They're gonna give him one more year. It's kind of like the 3-year rule because that 9-7 record is gonna be the reason. It's like, you know what? Fine. You did good last season. I know you can do that, so I'm gonna give you one more year. You better do it this time. Turn it around.
But we'll see on Black Monday.
Yeah, but
all
right. So
what happens?
So Bill, are you ready for the picks?
I'm ready for the picks.
All right, Bill. Start us off with Thursday Night Football.
All right. The Thursday night game is the Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans.
Bill, give me your pick first. I want to hear yours first.
All right. The Houston Texans got embarrassed by the Atlanta Falcons. The Indianapolis Colts have not looked good the entire year. So, therefore, with that in mind, the Houston Texans are going to come out and play really inspired football and beat the Indianapolis Colts.
I'm going to put faith in them one last time. One more time. Otherwise, I'm only going to pick games I know they have to win that are just easy. Like, you have no reason to fail this one. I'm going to go Houston, but for the sheer fact, Foster better get his shit together, if not, and not play like he's old. The defense needs to make Luck uncomfortable, because Luck is hurt too, by the way. He missed his first game of his career, but he's in the same situation like Drew Brees, where the team's going to make him play whether he feels ready or not. So they need to go up in Luck's face, pressure him, because he is not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers welcomes the pressure. The one good thing I'll praise about him, you could blitz him, and he'll still get the ball out by the time you're even within a foot of him.
Yep.
So, Andrew Luck has yet to develop that trait. I've seen it before, but it clearly needs more work, and this is the time where he is clearly not going to master that shit by the end of the year. So, Houston, you have one shot at this. It's now or never. If you can't win this, I am burying you 12 feet under. I already have them not making the playoffs in any shape or form, but prove me wrong, god damn it.
Right. Next up.
Wait, did I say I'm picking them? Yes, I did. Making sure. I'm picking
Yeah.
Houston.
Yep. Next up, the Chicago Bears at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Chiefs have to get their shit together, even with Jake Cutler here. But you know what? That offense is so stagnant now. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a 16 to 10 type of game, an ugly one, ugly numbers.
I also have the Kansas City Chiefs. I still think they're a 1-15 team. So I mean they're just terrible.
The
And
Bears
the
or the
Chiefs
Chiefs?
are a
Oh,
better team.
never mind.
The Chiefs are the better team. Chiefs all the way. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks at the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bengals. Don't lay a fucking egg on this one. I'm picking you. Your offense is so great. You got the formula. Run the ball down the defense's throat and then throw it to AJ Green. That's all you got to do. And the defense, Geno Atkins is showing as a defensive player of the year candidate. Because Watt sure ain't doing much, sadly. But that's what happens when you get double or triple teamed. I've got Cincinnati.
I've got the Seattle Seahawks beating Cincinnati in Cincinnati. Uh, they'll be on an emotional high after the win. They're within striking distance of the division, right where they need to be. There we go, picking Seattle. Next up, the Washington football team at the Atlanta Falcons.
Expect another blowout by Atlanta, gutting through the Redskins. But give the Redskins credit, they'll at least score 3 touchdowns in non-garbage time play.
I also have the Atlanta Falcons. They're just a swoop in, and they're going to Devontae Freeman them, and it's going to be brutal. Next up, the game of the week. The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I want to know who you picked for this one, Bill.
All right. So the Jaguars showed me something in the week against Indianapolis. They played them really tough, and I think they'll play the Buccaneers tough, and I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I also have the Jaguars. Jaguars defense much better, and Gus Bradley a way better coach than Lovie Smith. I've got the Jags going for the second win.
Oh God, here we go. The non-defense bowl. The New Orleans Saints at the Philadelphia Eagles.
I have Philly winning this one. I mean, sure, Drew Brees is there, but I don't know how the fuck the Eagles can drop this one too. I don't know how they dropped against Washington, but I should have figured because Philadelphia seems like they can't beat Washington at Washington. Should have saw that coming, but this time I have Philly.
I also have Philadelphia. Both teams will not play defense at all. And basically 1,000,000 points are going to be scored. I think if they get rid of Sam Bradford, they might even score more. Next up, the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore going 2-3, rebounding and saving John Harbaugh's career for another year. I don't want him to go because I don't want him to go to the Colts. I have Baltimore winning this one.
I also have Baltimore beating the Browns because look at who they're starting. It's a McCown. McCown is starting. They lose. Ravens win. Easy. Next up, the St. Louis Rams at the Green Bay Packers.
I'd love for the Rams to just take care of business and beat the Packers, but this is at Lambeau. It don't happen. Maybe the Rams at the very least will shut up those NFL media analysts about Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown a pick in Lambeau for so many years. Please, that's about as annoying as remember when the Chiefs never got a touchdown to a wide receiver for almost more than a year? But at Lambeau, that changed. Well, you know what? Lambeau seems to be where the place where NFL media analysts shut up about one thing. That's the next one. The interception thing. Gone. It restarts. Green Bay wins, though.
I also have Green Bay winning. It's Aaron Rodgers, and the defense I think is going to be really, really brutal against the Packers. So it's not going to be like a high-scoring game, but Green Bay will find a way to pull it out. Next up, the Buffalo Bills at the Tennessee Titans.
Buffalo getting their shit together. They don't need 3 running backs. The Titans' defense is trash. Like I said, the only reason they got that win was because that defense from the Buccaneers was also trash. Titans, the least talented team overall. Buffalo, stomp stomp the Titans.
Here comes the stampede. The Bills will stampede the Titans.
Oh.
And I think Carlos Williams will play that game. I just have
here's another one for you. Marcus Mariota will throw 3 picks and get benched for the first time in his career. Don't worry, he's not losing the job. I don't think he'll ever lose the job. But I'm just saying, he's going to do so bad, and he's just not going to get anything done.
Right. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals at the Detroit Lions.
I have lost faith in Detroit. That game wasn't their fault, though, but regardless, 0-4. You're not coming back from that. I've buried the Lions 600 feet under. I've got Arizona just coming back from that horrible loss that they could have won, giving it to them. I've got Arizona, man.
Two terrible losses from 2 different teams, but one team's at home, and I'm picking the Lions because they're gonna be hopefully out for blood.
Well, it's the cat has to eat the bird, but the bird can fly, though. Remember, can't catch it.
Yep. Next up, the New England Patriots at the Dallas Cowboys.
I've got the Patriots, man. The Patriots were going to win no matter what, even if the Dallas Cowboys were absolutely healthy. And if Tom Brady weren't playing because of Deflategate. But no, I have the Patriots coming out on this one.
I also have the Patriots. It's the Patriots. You know, Bill Belichick's going to take what the Cowboys do well, and that's the running game, and take it away. And then all you have is Whedon and a bunch of wide receivers. And the wide receiving core isn't really decimated.
It's not healthy at all.
So, there we go, the Patriots. Next up, the Denver Broncos at the Oakland Raiders.
Okay, before the season began, I had all my picks sorted out, and I thought that the Broncos were going to do mediocre. But no, they're doing great, and I originally had the Raiders as my upset of the week. But alas, it won't happen. For you see, the Broncos playing too good right now. They're going to go 5-0. Just like the Patriots. Well, the Patriots are going to go 4-0 because they had a bye, but you get what I mean. They're going to stay perfect. Got the Broncos.
Yep. The Broncos' defense is suffocating. The Raiders' offense couldn't put points on the board on a terrible defense. Now they're playing a really good
They're playing the number 1 defense, actually.
Yeah, good luck with that. The Broncos will win this game. Next up, this is the Sunday night game. The San Francisco 49ers at the New York Giants.
This is the worst Sunday night football game. Let me tell you what other games you could have put instead. You could have put the damn Seahawks and the Bengals for this one. But that's the only one I could think of because New England plays next week. Dallas just came out of one. You can't put them 2 times in a row. Same with the Saints and the Eagles. So they really had a bad set of games here. But I would have gotten Cardinals versus Lions or Seattle versus Cincinnati if I was making the schedule. Seattle versus Cincinnati, very fun to me. But I'm gonna go Giants. Odell Beckham's just gonna get so much praise for catching a 1-yard pass. I swear to God, they don't shut up about him.
I also have the Giants defeating the 49ers. The 49ers are still pretty
I would love to
terrible
be
on
wrong,
defense.
honestly. I don't want the Giants to win.
And then the Monday night game, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the San Diego
If I
Chargers.
had if Roethlisberger were playing, I'd have an upset of the week, if you want to call it that. I would have had the Steelers winning, but nothing against Mike Vick. The Chargers do good at prime time most of the time, so I'm giving it to the Chargers.
I am also giving it to the Chargers because the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is not good.
All right, Bill. Before we go, we have to
And
talk
then,
about the next week, Thursday Night Football.
yep, and the next week's Thursday night football is the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans
Atlanta will
Saints.
go 6-0. Atlanta's for real. They beat the Saints.
And yeah, I don't see how the Saints will stop that offense. Atlanta in a landslide.
All right. So, Bill, that'll do it. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Hopefully, no stupid calls this
And hopefully,
week.
I don't have to bury the Texans 600 feet like with the Lions. But, alas, that'll do it for this part. We will see you guys next week for week 6. We're about a third of the way, almost a third of the way through. We're about a quarter of the way through now, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see you guys next week.